Welcome to Tech Talk, where advertising and technology intersect, and we get to talk to some of the most influential people in the field. And I am so thankful to be joined by Medhavi Singh today, who is the country head for India for Criteo, and also a company I frequently bug. So thank you so much, Medhavi, for
Thank
taking
you
this
for
time.
inviting me, Shantanu. Really glad to be a part of this.
Yes. So, first things first, there's a lot of conversation around privacy regulations, whether it's in India or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
But more specific to India, now that all these regulations are in place, how does it impact things like targeting and the entire field of ad tech, which is sort of connecting you with your consumers.
So, Shantanu, I feel like privacy regulations, whether it is GDPR in Europe or whether it is the evolving frameworks in India, they're reshaping how brands are actually interacting with consumers. And what really they just the understanding of how consumers want to be treated in today's day and age, right? So I think I look at it from a perspective that I think two things are really important here. One is transparency, and second thing is consent or just giving consumers the control. So I think that is something that has become really important. Hence, when I view it from the angle of, whether it is retailers or ad tech companies, I think it becomes really important to invest in robust data governance systems and also in consent management systems, because those are the two pillars of, ensuring that everything is as per regulations. And from a brand perspective, I think, as you said, brands really need to be wary of the fact that try and target more and more using first party audiences, because retail media networks are there. And, that way is just there is a lot more consent that is built into your advertising. So ensure that you're respectful and creative in the ways that you do interact with your users and just make ads a lot more engaging so that there is more interaction that happens with them. And when I talk about, from a very Criteo perspective, I'd say that, Criteo is a company which ensures privacy by design, which means that right at the onset of any product development, we ensure that there is somebody who's looking at privacy as well. So it is built into our systems. It's not really an afterthought. And that is what ensures that our ads are really personalized and compliant all the time.
Right. And you mentioned the interactivity of ads, and so could you sort of go into as digital gets more diverse, right? Whether it's your CTV or your phone, of course. Could you talk about interactive advertising and sort of how that is evolving?
Yeah, sure. I think, today is the time and age when interactive formats have become like the thing for brands to go after. There are a lot of newer, really engaging formats that are coming up. As an example, whether you talk about shoppable ads or whether you talk about gamified experiences, whether you talk about videos that just allow a lot more interaction within the content, that's really taking over the space. And with AR and VR in today's world, you are actually able to create that experience and that environment for a user. I think that really helps because also it will create automatically greater engagement, right? Because whether a user is voting or whether they're interacting with the content, whether they're it's a storytelling that is customized to them. It's something that really works for them. Automatically, the interaction is also going to be more. I think in terms of also when you look at India, if you look at the growth of social commerce that's been there, I think it's been worldwide also. But in India, there's really so much of social commerce that happens. There are live stream shopping events. These are the kind of things that are really going to also bridge the gap between, I think, ad views on one end and like the more measurable outcomes like a conversions on the other end.
Great. And as you mentioned, there are so many different versions of that interactability. Um, if you had to pick your own favorite, like which do you think is the most, which works the best for?
I think, I would love shopping ads. I love shopping. So I think shoppable ads would be something that would be my go-to.
Right. And about display advertising, since we were speaking about that, there's a lot going on in that, in the sense, it's like eyeballs, like it for you follow eyeballs, right? Marketers follow eyeballs. So, could you just speak about the display advertising network itself, like, and where do you see it going in, in the future?
Yeah, so I think, display advertising in general has always been a very integral part of the entire digital ecosystem. And when the way you look at it now, I think with every passing year, the shift is towards making it more personalized and towards making it more data driven. So I
Mm,
would look at, these are the two aspects that are really being combined as we talk about about the display advertising convergence and growth. Also, when you look at it from a retail media lens,
mm,
because that's the new wave of digital advertising, then retail media has become a really key trend in when it comes to display advertising, because retail media was essentially, when it started right at the onset, it was really viewed only as a performance tool. But now really brands have evolved in their thought process and that, and they're looking at it as a full funnel tool. So I think overall in display advertising, retail media has started to play a very key role. Globally, it's at a 23% of the total digital spends, and now is a time when the same number has come to India as well. Like for India also, it's at a 23% of the overall spends. And this used to be very different a few years back. So I think India has really caught up with the global trend in this regard as well. So I think that would be the next one. Then lastly, I think the contextual advertising and the rise of that would be very important as well, because as we spoke about it also earlier, right, it is really important that you brands really customize it to the user experience. So when a user is really engaged, when they're talking about something, reading some content, and you're able to serve something which is contextually relevant to them, that's where I think, it's really going to make a difference to them.
right. And of course, you mentioned performance in the middle over there, and I'm just curious because performance marketing is always sort of evolving. For you, what are the key trends that you think will sort of drive it in 2025?
Um, Performance marketing has always been outcome focused, but I think as it evolves every year, because there are so much of technological advancements that happen, right? I think it continues to be more outcome focused every passing year that we've interacted with clients. We understand that. And the key focus continues to be on whether it is sales or revenue, or more importantly, on ROAS. That's what really brands are looking for, and that continues. I think we've seen a massive shift in the mentality of brands to be able to understand that retail media is really important. And that's a key trend as well. That, retail media also, when it evolved, I think in the beginning, as I mentioned, right, it used to be viewed as a performance tool. So I think that has become a very integral part of every brand's plan, is what I feel. So I think being able to do that and just holistically integrating it in every single brand's um, planning is something that is a key trend, I would say, that I see. Then I would also think that a lot of cross channel attribution, which means when you look at it for brands, whether there is one marketing solutions on one end, they're doing retail media on the other end. I don't think these two things are talking to each other in today's state, right? So that convergence in being able to understand the holistic, from a very holistic perspective, from a user angle, right? When you go and look at it from a user angle and say, for this user, how are they traversing the journey? Integrating the two things, how are they contributing to each other's success? How is attribution between the two really converging? So I think all of that is something that I don't think is 100% solved for the industry today, but that's something that I think everyone is working towards, thinking, how does the convergence of that work, and how do we come up with a holistic solution for sure. Then I think a very important trend, the buzzword without which I think any conversation really becomes defunct in today's time, is AI. So I think AI and ML, that is definitely an important trend and will continue to be so, because it really helps, when you look at it from every single angle, whether it is the precision of the audience targeting that you're able to do, whether it is about the personalized experience that you're really able to give to the user, right? In terms of the creative served, in terms of the timing of the ad, in terms of ensuring that if a user is not engaged, then you step back and you do not show them the next ad. Versus if a user engaged more, then you understand what they engaged with. And further personalize your recommendations to it, ensuring that there is minimal wastage. Or just finally, in terms of analytics, for the longest time, analytics has been in the shape of how do we give analytics of the campaign. I think it's evolving to how do we give the analytics of the user? How do we make every brand understand the user more and not just data, not just campaign, so that ultimately they're learning from a user angle and not really just from a campaign or a data angle. I think that's what I look at. That's how I look at it.
And I'm so glad you brought up that AI question because I sometimes hesitate to ask it because I have to ask everyone about AI. I don't want to bore people. And when you were talking about that retail media networks, which are really driving uh, of, of anything digital right now being driven by retail media networks. Um, could you sort of also break it down for us in terms of some of our readers perhaps going into digital advertising for the first time? And can you explain the vitality of retail media networks?
Sure, because you've said from the first time, so probably I'll zoom out to give a bit of understanding from a global level, right? To understand how retail media is. So, it started back in about 2015, 16. Criteo was among the pioneers along with Amazon to ensure that, retail media, we understood the fact that retail media is going to be the next wave of digital advertising and partnered on it. Um, but right now, when you look at it, in today's day and age, like we worked with Coresight Research to have a report going, and that says that the globally retail media is estimated to be about $179.5 billion. Okay, so that's the level at which retail media has reached already. And for users to understand what retail media is all about, you have retailers on one end from a very Indian context, whether it is, Flipkart or Swiggy or Blinkit, any of these advertisers that you're thinking about, right? All of them want to ensure that on their platform and off their platform, they're finding the right users for the brands. So they are from a retailer angle, they want to be able to create a stream of revenue for them because they have this first party data. And from a very brand angle, brands want to be able to really capitalize on this massive set of really important information that the retailers have on the other end. I think, and at the heart of all of it is consumers, and ad tech platforms really get the capabilities that are needed to connect all of these, because there is retailer on one end and there are brands on the other end, but how really they connect in a way that uh, they just interact in a very seamless fashion, and there is cutting edge technology, and that's where the ad tech platforms come into place.
Great. And it's so interesting because you mentioned that how from discovery, from just seeing something up to purchasing, up to follow through everything. Like in that journey, the consumer journey, sometimes it's not 100% attributable, is it? And so I'm curious, where do you see that more work needs to be done to sort of make it completely, that this is your customer, this is their journey, and this is the result. Is there anything that is lacking?
I think, now that we are converging both retail media and the overall marketing solutions, digital advertising bit, right? I think somewhere these journeys will get consolidated and these journeys will be able to, individually exist. While, as I said before, also, it's not something that in today's day and age is completely solved for and said that this is how they are. But I think there is a clear understanding within the ecosystem that the journeys are intertwined. And how do we go about and attribute to each system currently is something that is being explored. But this cross-channel attribution as we go ahead is going to be extremely important, because really both it's about the user. It's no longer about, this platform or this channel or this retailer. It's really about understanding of the user.
Right. And of course, I will stop mining for my own stories right now, but I will ask you, what's with Criteo? What are you guys looking at this year? What are the plans in India and of course abroad?
I think whether it is APAC, global, or in India, I think one thing that is common for every single market is the emphasis on retail media that we do and the emphasis on new strategic partnerships with retailers, because I think that is really core to our success in retail media. So I would say that is one thing that is extremely important. That's the same thing that continues to be our focus when it comes to India as well. Secondly, I'd say, we have, I'd just give you an information of a platform called Commerce Go,
Mhm.
which is a very next gen AI powered tool building automation and optimization. And it's embedded into our main commerce growth platform. What that really means and allows for simplicity, is that, any performance marketing person is actually able to go in and launch a campaign with just 5 clicks. So the idea is that with performance marketing, we're able to take it to the next level where people have, really find that ease to be able to scale that. So I think priority of being able to evangelize that is something that continues to be important to us. Then I think I would say thirdly, I understand that, there is retailers on one end, but on the other end is brands. So understanding the brand requirements and ensuring that we work with the agencies, because agencies is a very integral part of the brand ecosystem. So I think partnering with the agencies on the other end to ensure that we understand the brand requirement and the agency requirement to serve with all the retailers that we have, I think that is something that is going to be of core importance to us. And lastly, we continuously ensure that we're staying on top of every AI innovation that is possible. So I think there is a lot of investment that goes in there. So that is something that is definitely going to continue in 2025, not just in 2025, I feel.
Right. Going above and beyond.
Yeah.
But one thing for because some of these businesses, like retail businesses, are mom and pop shops, and do you think sometimes that because of the accessibility needs to be explained to them more, that that it is not complicated, like you said, in 5 clicks you can have something in place. Is that something that needs to be sort of advocated for more?
I think to the mom and pop stores, there is already a lot of integration that is happening with the quick coms coming into being and with the e-coms coming into being also, there is a
Mm,
lot of integration of that happening. But I think, yes, a lot of integration between the online and the offline mediums. I think that's something that as an ecosystem, we need to do a lot more. I think currently there are a few formats that exist for it in terms of being able to utilize the point of sale information and being able to feed it for online, or whether it is being able to utilize hashed for numbers. But I think there is not more in India. It's a very fragmented market. I mean, from a global perspective, I think it's easier. From an
mhm.
India perspective, I still think, we're a really vastly populated country. So I think it's somewhere a lot more work needs to be done there.
Sometimes people tell me, like, in India there are many markets within India itself. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right, and I do not envy your job then, because you sort of have to bring all those markets together. And thank you so much for taking out the time. And do you have any last thoughts to share, which you would want our viewers and our readers to just take home with them?
I think I just say that, AI is here and it's going to stay. And we want to ensure that as Criteo, we stay ahead of the game through a very strong AI. We've had it in our system since literally 18 plus years. We continue to evolve and ensure that we're staying ahead of that. And for anyone, brands, retailers, agencies, I think, to stay ahead, you have to be in the AI game.
Brilliant. Thank you so, so much for taking out this time.